And now it is time that we shall go and end things off with AniMat's pick of the week. And if I could be very honest, this is honestly one of the most requested stories that people ask me to go and report. For many weeks, this has been considered a rumor, and I've had people coming in and asking me, "Oh, are you going to talk about this story? Can you talk about this story? Go ahead, talk about this story. I want to hear your thoughts about this story." Like, they really want me to go and talk about this. But honestly, I held back. I thought this sounded way too big to be true. I didn't think this would possibly happen, considering that it was still considered a rumor. And it felt like something that would be so big that it would even just make the purchase of Lucasfilm and Marvel look like it was nothing. You know what I mean? It just sounded way too big to be true. So I kind of held back, and I wanted to wait to see if there would be any kind of official word about it. But this week, however, it seems like it's gonna happen. Or it actually did happen, actually. So, you guys asked for it. You want it? You got it. Ladies and gentlemen, let us talk about Disney buying Fox. Yes, the Walt Disney Company has decided to go and buy the grand majority of 21st Century Fox for a grand total of $52.4 billion, which pretty much means that now Disney would own all the cable network programming, all the movie stuff, all the TV shows, and they would even own some of the shares. Like, now Disney would actually own the grand majority of Hulu, and they would now own National Geographic, and they would own some of the TV stations. However, the only things that Disney does not actually own is actually Fox Business Network, Fox Sports, and Fox News. Now, those assets right over there, they still belong to Rupert Murdoch. And what he's going to do with those three things, he's going to form a brand new company with it. Well, at least thanks to the $52 billion investment. So that's pretty much the big implication, is that Disney would end up owning 20th Century Fox. And the big question remains right over here about as to why they would actually go and own Fox. Now, for the reasons why, I've heard several different explanations right over here. And honestly, from what I've heard, I heard some arguments that would say that Disney wanted to be very serious when it comes to the streaming competition. Like, when Disney is gonna go and open their own streaming service, they want to be major serious competitors to companies like Netflix and Amazon. Some also stated that it's also because, considering that Bob Iger is going to be retiring soon, he wants to have this one last major impact before he would resign as the CEO of Disney. And some people would say it's more because Rupert Murdoch himself just wanted to get rid of some of the other assets so that he could put his focus a little bit more on stuff like Fox News. And there is actually a lot of implications on the business side on what it would mean for both Disney and for Fox to go and see what is it that's going to happen with them. I actually do have a little bit of a list right over here in my source here on Variety. Now, apparently what's going to happen is that the deal values the 21st Century Fox assets in the transaction of $66.1 billion, including $13.7 billion in 21st Century Fox debts, or 28 in a share. The enterprise value of the deal is $69 billion. And also, one major news about this is that it also says Disney chairman and CEO Bob Iger has extended his contract with the company for another 2 years through the end of 2021 in order to oversee the integration of the assets. It also says that 21st Century Fox shareholders, especially with the Murdochs, will receive 0.2745 Disney shares for each Fox share held, giving Fox shareholders about 25% of Disney. It also stated that 21st Century Fox will spin off Fox Broadcasting Company, Fox Sports, Fox News, and Fox television stations, and a handful of other assets into a new company that will have revenue of $10 billion and earnings of about $2.8 billion. The 20th Century Fox lot in Century City will also remain with the spin-off Fox company. 21st Century Fox will continue to pursue its acquisition of the remaining 61% stakes in Eurosatcaster Sky that it does not already own, with the intention of Disney taking over when the Disney-Fox transaction is complete. And then also says that Disney expects to realize $2 billion in cost savings for combining Disney and Fox overlapping business within 2 years of the deal closing. And finally, it says that Disney expects the regulatory review of acquisition to take as long as between 12 to 8 months. So it's going to take a little bit of a while for Disney to actually own Fox. Like, now we know this is happening, but it's going to take a little while for it to actually go and have any sort of effect right over here. But honestly, this is something that I would say that we probably should have seen it coming. And the thing is, as you probably know, not only am I a huge fan of Disney animation, but I'm also a huge fan of Disney theme parks. And honestly, I have been seeing a little bit of a pattern right over here. Because whenever there is something that would enter into the Disney parks that doesn't necessarily directly belong to Disney, then it would be completely transformed into something that is Disney. And if you don't know what I mean, here's the thing. Now, back in the late 1980s, George Lucas and Disney decided to collaborate in order to create Star Tours, which is the theme park ride based on Star Wars. And then on top of that, there is also several different Indiana Jones rides throughout the Disney parks, whether it be Indiana Jones Adventures at Disneyland, California, or in the Indiana Jones Epic Stunt Spectacular at Walt Disney World in Florida. And then afterwards, years later, Disney would end up owning the entirety of Lucasfilms, including Star Wars and Indiana Jones. And then after that, there is also in the early 90s, you would have Muppet Vision 3D, which is a collaboration between Jim Henson and Disney to create what is pretty much the most beloved and most popular 3D attraction at the Disney parks, which is still going on to this day, and personally I would say it's my favorite Disney ride, period. And then what would end up happening years later? Disney owns the Muppets. Now, some people would say that, okay, considering that Disney bought Fox, is it the fact that when you think about the original Star Wars, like the original trilogy, and also, what else was there? Like the prequels, considering that they were distributed by Fox, is it because of that Disney went to buy Fox? No. This is because of the latest and biggest attractions that Disney released in 2017. And what I'm talking about is actually Avatar. Yes, earlier in 2018, Disney actually opened Pandora, the World of Avatar, which is an entire new section at Disney's Animal Kingdom in Walt Disney World, which brings the Avatar family, which brings Avatar into the Disney family. And then, what a coincidence, just moments later, or months later, Disney decides to own Fox in its entirety. And it's honestly insane. Because now, when you think about it, the implications means so much, considering that now they don't own everything of Fox, because Rupert Murdoch still owns all the news outlets, and I think like it mentioned that they own all the they own the channels themselves. But Disney still owns all the movies and all the TV shows and some of the other bonus stuff as well, considering that now Disney owns the majority of Hulu right now, considering that like they already have a 30% share and now they got Fox's share as well. So like they pretty much own it at this point. But also they would own the National Geographic's channel. They might own Sky also. Like they have a lot of stuff. And even when you think about the movies and the TV shows individually, that would mean a lot of stuff. Like now Disney actually owns some of the biggest movies of all time. Like they own Titanic. They now completely own Avatar. And even, well, since this is the animation podcast, we should also be talking about the fact that they own a lot more animation outlets. They own a lot of stuff that have been handled and distributed by Fox. Like, I actually have another source here on the Animation Scoop that actually has a pretty good list of all the big stuff or the big animation stuff that Disney would own now that they have Fox. Like, now Disney would own Ralph Bakshi's Wizards and Fire and Ice. They also have Ferngully. They have Once Upon a Forest. They have Pagemaster. They have Anastasia and Titan AE, which now people are pretty much freaking out, thinking that now they would say that Anastasia would officially be a Disney princess. And also, they own Blue Sky Studios, which right now, Blue Sky Studios is honestly a bit scared about this deal. They're not sure about their future, considering that Disney already has Walt Disney Animation Studios and they already have Pixar Animation Studios. They're just a little bit afraid, thinking that maybe in the future, Disney would not need Blue Sky Studios and it could mean the potential downfall of it. But if I can be honest, I don't think there really is any danger to Blue Sky Studios themselves. I mean, yeah, there definitely is a possibility that they could shut down because of this deal. But personally, I feel like if Blue Sky Studios survived having DreamWorks Animation as a distributor or not, like having DreamWorks Animation be distributed by 20th Century Fox, then I think they could probably survive this as well. I mean, I honestly see there are a few other major animation studios that have a better chance of shutting down than Blue Sky Studios. So, honestly, I have a good feeling that they could be safe throughout all this. But yeah, honestly, that's just what I feel about it. I don't know if it's actually going to be the case, but who knows? But also, on top of that, there is one more movie that they do now own, which is The Book of Life, which, considering that people decided that they want to try to make this big war between The Book of Life and Coco, well, I guess in this case right over here, Disney wins because now they do have both. And hey, if you look in the bright side, there could be a possibility that we could actually see an official crossover with Manolo and Miguel. Who knows? But I think even bigger than any of the movies, I think the big deal with animation is the fact that they now own the TV shows, especially with the animation domination. Now, of course, they would have the Fox Kids shows as well. Like now, like they have shows like The Tick and Bobby's World. But also, with animation domination, they own some of the biggest animated TV shows of all time. They have King of the Hill. They have Futurama. They have the Seth MacFarlane shows like The Cleveland Show, American Dad, and Family Guy. They have Bob's Burgers. And they own The Simpsons. The fact that Disney owns The Simpsons is a giant deal in itself. And honestly, that's just mind-blowing. Like, it's really huge at this point. the amount of animation stuff that they own. Like now, like Disney's collection of animation works, like now it's getting really up there next to what Time Warner has and what Comcast has with all the, like, with everything that's under the Universal umbrella, with all those classic cartoons and Illumination and DreamWorks Animation. And then you also got Time Warner, where they got all the Looney Tunes, the Hanna-Barbera stuff, Tom and Jerry, and like all those cartoons. So yeah, now we got the three giants of animation, which is Disney, Comcast, and Time Warner. Those are the big ones that we have right over here. And honestly, that's just in the animation front, but this doesn't just mean any huge implications on animation. This also has huge implications on other things as well. Like, a great example is actually with Star Wars. Now Disney would actually own 100% of Star Wars. Not just, not only do they completely own the prequels, but now they actually do have the original movies. So one great thing that could potentially come from this is that maybe in the future, we will see the long-awaited release of the theatrical cut, the one that has been originally released back in the late 70s and the early 80s, because people have been waiting for that moment for so long to see how Star Wars was back when it was actually released and before George Lucas would come in and just fidget around with some of the stuff and like adding in some like modern special effects and computer effects, and have one weird moment where young Han Solo would be talking with a computer animated Jabba the Hutt. So it could mean that. And also, let us not forget about Rupert Murdoch's side of the deal, because even though he's 86 years old and he's ready to go and meet his maker, he is settled for life. And he is free to pretty much do whatever he wants. And honestly, I feel like this is something that he wanted to really do for a long time, because that's the big thing about this deal. It's not necessarily Disney wanting to buy Fox, it's Rupert Murdoch wanting to sell Fox. Because that's kind of the big thing. Like, he wants to get rid of that. And if it wasn't Disney that would buy Fox, then it would either be Comcast or Sony. And at this point, I think a lot of people would probably be in total panic if it belongs to any of these two. So if I may be a little bit of devil's advocate here, honestly, it would be better off if Disney would buy Fox, because it could have been much worse right over there. But with Rupert Murdoch, now he's pretty much free to go and focus just purely on the things he wants to focus, which is regarding the news, to really put his focus to work on Fox News and on Fox Sports without any of the trouble to also work on the movie industry and to make TV shows and all that kind of stuff. Like, he's pretty much exiting the entertainment industry so that he can purely work on the business and purely work on the news. And he can pretty much do whatever he wants, considering that now he has a nice little $50 billion check in his hands. So really, there's no trouble for him at all. If there is a huge issue, then honestly, he's at the point where money can solve anything. And at that point, honestly, it's just... Honestly, what I'm describing here, this is just the tip of the iceberg. It can mean plenty of stuff as well. But honestly, the craziest thing about all this is that there are a lot of people that they don't see the big picture of what this could potentially mean. They don't really see what's the big idea of what it could mean nowadays that now Disney bought Fox, and how it could potentially change the entertainment industry as we know it. Because the sad truth is, if you would ask anyone on the internet what it means that Disney would go and buy Fox, then there's a pretty big chance that they would just tell you, oh, well, now it means that Disney would own X-Men, Deadpool, and Fantastic Four, and that they would be in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. And apparently that's pretty much it. That's all that they would just talk about. The fact that now that they got Fantastic Four, X-Men, and Deadpool onto the Disney mantle. That's all it is. Like, apparently that would be the only reason why Disney bought Fox in the first place. Well, let me just tell you guys, if Disney just wanted to go and get X-Men, Deadpool, and Fantastic Four, they would have just went and bought X-Men, Deadpool, and Fantastic Four. So it doesn't mean just that. I know that you're really excited for all the superhero crap, but really you're not seeing the big picture right over here. Like, just take your mind out of that for a second and, like, just look at literally everything else that's happening. Because the superhero thing, it doesn't even cover a fraction of what this could mean. But there is one thing I will say, though, that I can see that will happen in the future when it comes to superheroes. Is that now that Disney actually did went and get stuff like X-Men, Deadpool, and Fantastic Four, now that they own almost everything in terms of the movie rights for the Marvel characters, they are going after Sony. Now, I'm not saying that Disney is going to plan to buy Sony Pictures. The Sony Corporation in Japan are not letting that happen. But Disney is going to go to Sony, and they are going to go buy the rest of the Marvel movie rights. Like, they're going to go get Ghost Rider, and they are getting Spider-Man no matter what. They want to go and create their own cinematic universe. They want to make their little movies like Venom and Spider-Man into the Spider-Verse. Yeah, that's nice. Disney doesn't care. They're gonna take it regardless. So that's one thing I'm pretty certain is going to happen in the future. But overall, I feel like with all that I've mentioned, I don't think I even covered the surface of the implications of all this. Yeah, this is definitely going to be huge. And this is going to be a massive game changer in the entertainment industry. But overall, I just feel like this is like it's a little too soon to really determine what's going to happen. I feel like we're really going to see something happen in either 2019 or 2020 when we're actually going to see the full effect of Disney buying buying Fox in general. So we're not going to see any big changes happening in 2018 or sometime in the near future, but it will take a little while. So who knows how it's going to go? Who knows what's going to happen with the future of their movies or their TV shows? Personally, I don't think there's going to be any big changes. Like, I don't think, like, we're going to see everything be completely Disneyfied. Like, if we look at what happened with Marvel and if we look at what happened with Star Wars, I think, like, odds are, like, all the movies from 20th Century Fox, they will be fine, and it will almost feel like nothing happened at all. It's just Disney now is going to make more money out of it. So, honestly, this is going to be a bit of a wait and see to see what will happen to the future of Fox. What will happen to the future of these filmmakers. So it's a little too soon to have any effect right now. But yeah, this is honestly going to be a giant game changer right over here. That I know for certain.